Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the End of Mind podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin, and I'm super excited to introduce you all to Erin. Thanks so much for being here today.
I'm so excited for this conversation.
Thank you for being so open to this. And I know we briefly met through your networking event, and I would love for you to share with the listeners, if that comes up intuitively. But first off, can you just start off by sharing with us what you do and how you got
Sure.
to your
Sure. Yeah. So I'm a transformational coach and hypnotherapist. And I also weave in shamanic work and ancestral healing work into my practice. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I love all the facets that you bring together through spirituality, if that's what you would call it.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody may have a different term. Can you start off sharing with us a little bit more about your shamanic work? Just because I'm very interested to hear about that.
Yeah, sure. So I did a 3-year shamanic practitioner training out in Colorado. Um, and it, I'm not sure if the uh, practitioner who taught us would say this, but I feel like that really was focused around the concept of energetic sovereignty, meaning that we are all not only given permission to be sovereign beings, but that is sort of a pathway for us to work towards. If you look at Yeah, if you look at indigenous shamans, again, they may not use that word, but if you look at indigenous shamans and what they're practicing, it's a practice of inner power. It's a practice of reclaiming what is yours, and so that our, energetic cords, our energetic energy, for lack of a better word, isn't being taken up by other people, or that we're not, that we're not allowing other people to siphon our energy in various ways, in all the ways, right, that we all do those things. So and to me, shamanism is really, it's a way of life versus um, a set of concepts or precepts or rules or anything that you have to follow, but it's more of, yeah, a way of life, of connecting back into nature and the eternal consciousness and the world around us in a way that to me feels really aligned. So,
That's beautiful. I've
yeah.
had so many family members over the years do shamanism very different ways. So I really appreciate the sovereignty that you
Mm,
mentioned.
yeah.
That's something that my coach and I work on a lot, and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
putting that.
Yeah. And I think we're all working on that, whether we name it that way or not, right? In various ways, because, you know, the practice of being an entrepreneur, of, being a leader in the corporate world, whatever your thing is, really is about following your own path. And so I think for most of us entrepreneurs, it is about coming back to what's true for you over and over again, even though like the outside world tells you that you're crazy or that you shouldn't do it this way, or that there's some 5-step plan out there that's better than the way that you're doing it. And instead, when we listen to our own voice, you know, it may never make us trillions of dollars, but it will be our path.
And the most aligned,
Right,
like
right.
it's like when we go out of alignment, I don't know about the listeners, but I certainly can feel it. Like
Mhm.
my frustration heightens. I actually taught a human design and marketing program with one of my dear friends, Claire, and she talked about how frustration, like in my chart, was my sign and signal. How whenever I feel that, I'm like, whoa, like maybe I should look at this, find solutions for that,
Hmm.
or pivot, because
Right. Either one. Yeah,
yeah.
totally. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a solution to everything. Like there's a person, there's a system, there's a way of avoiding it if you can, right? Like there's a solution to all of it. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, like sometimes I find my frustration isn't even about the task at hand. Like I think a lot of entrepreneurs can sometimes we like manifest our work in different ways. like with what I do in marketing, sometimes it will be task oriented. And then I
Mm-hmm.
have to look at myself and like, have I just neglected and worked through, trying to, instead of like taking a break or,
Right.
like
Right.
reconnecting with myself. My coach calls it my love list. And I'm like, wow,
Mm.
it's been a few weeks,
Yeah.
since I tapped into that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so interesting too, because there's not even like a daily prescription, even for you, right? Like there's things that some days we need more movement and we need to really sweat. And then there's some days that it's like, no, I really do need a bubble bath and somebody to rub my feet or whatever. Like it's different, moment to moment. So yeah.
Would you say in your work, you're able to help your clients identify the differences between that? For example, some of my clients, like I teach intuitive marketing, and they'll say,
Mm-hmm.
what is my intuition and what is fear? And I'm like, well, that is the big question.
Yeah, that is always the big question. I think it's for me, I ask that question of my guides, right? Like I get really I put on some meditation music or a drum beat or whatever, and I have that conversation with my guides about like what's next and what's on the horizon and what feels good and what feels fun. And knowing that the human side of me is still going to have doubts and fears around that, but they're usually pretty clear around sort of like, okay, here's the path. And even though you don't want it, and even though, you know, you're scared shitless of this thing, like, here's the path, right? And what's interesting, I think I want to share this, is that it's been such an interesting ride being in the spiritual space and doing shamanic work and working with my guides and working with source, but also, and I've been really trying to define this. I don't have an attachment to whether or not it's real either, you know? Um, I don't know if you feel that way, Caitlin, but it's kind of like I can talk about my guides, but I also don't I don't care if they're real or not, you know what I mean? Or just figments of my imagination. Like I don't care anymore. To me it's like they're still going to give me really helpful practical advice and like that question you just posed, like that's something I sit with all the time with them. And so, yeah, I don't know if they're real or not, but they're still going to give me great advice. So I don't care, I guess.
I can relate to that. This is something that's been coming up for me a lot recently.
Mm,
um because what I do can be so like data and like logically driven. A lot of what you provide, I'm sure too, is like tangible, but then there is this part of me that is so spiritually driven, and it's really one of the reasons why I'm grounded in my work. Like before, when I was all logical or all masculine energy, it killed me, mentally,
yeah,
physically, and
yeah.
my relationships. Like I would almost destroy them like through self-sabotage of like being overly logical or overly illogical at times. So I find that the not questioning if what I'm hearing is real, but trusting it has
Mm-hmm.
led me back, to what I need to be doing, like every time,
Mm-hmm.
over staying in the masculine,
Mm-hmm.
pulling or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, and just like everybody, I don't always listen.
Yeah.
It's like, nope, still not gonna listen to what you're saying. Yep. Yeah.
Exactly. Because sometimes it's easier to be comfortable, like, and
Yeah,
stay
totally.
small. I was actually on with my coach right before I saw you today, and we were having these like huge epiphany moments. And I've been small my whole life. Like I feel like this has actually been a theme of the podcast. The podcast is called The End in Mind for that reason.
Mm,
Like I'm an only child, but it was very easy for me to be small for that reason, because there were like not a lot of other kids around, when I was growing up. And as I've gotten older, entrepreneurships allowed me to voice my opinions and like really flourish into who I want to be. And I never thought this would be me, like little me thinking about myself now. But I'm so proud of that too. Do you see that with your clients when they really just like trust themselves and go all in on their
Absolutely.
guides? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Or whatever they call it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I think and it's such a continual process. You know what I mean? Like, this is kind of unrelated, but hopefully I'll tie it back. I just was in Egypt for 2 weeks on a trip, and one of the women on the trip, you know, considerably older than me, in her 70s, and we're laying out by the pool and, taking pictures, and she's like, "Oh, make sure I look skinny." And I was just thinking, like, shit, I don't want to be in my 70s thinking that stuff, you know? Like, I want to be, to tie it back, like, I want to be on the leading edge of like playing all out, of being the biggest me. And like, women especially hold themselves back so much with all of that stuff, right? Like, I have to look a certain way and I have to be thin and I have to, have perfect hair and all the things. And it's like, I'm not going out like that. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be in my 70s worried about whether I have wrinkles and whether I have saggy boobs or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
that can't be the playing field anymore. It has to be, um, yeah, like you said, am I voicing the biggest things? Am I being the biggest me? Whatever that means, right? Like, it doesn't have to mean success with the capital S kind of success, but it has to be like, oh my God, is this lighting me up? You know?
Yeah. I'm actually getting married next year. So like
Yay.
physical, appearance is like what everyone talks about in the wedding world. And it can feel so much pressure from that. Like I'm very lucky I grew up in an Italian family that supported carbs and, could care less about like what we looked like. Like literally, that's why I show up raw to a lot of these podcast
I
recordings.
love that. I
Just
love that.
I'm working, I'm like,
Yeah,
I didn't have time to get ready and I'm just being me. Sometimes I'm like just back from the gym.
I
And
love it.
like you said, it's like we have to almost pave that way for ourselves and for others to lead by example, of
Yeah,
not caring. Like, who
yeah.
said that we have to be skinny?
Right. Yeah. And I really, really credit social media, and Instagram, especially for like showing me, women of all ages and women of all shapes and women of all colors and being like, this is my body, y'all. Like, I don't care what you think, and I just am like, yes, where were you guys in the 90s? Like, because that was not, I mean, I'm probably, I don't know, 20 years older than you, but like, that was not the message we were raised with. There was no body positivity like that. It was not there, you
Yeah,
know? So, um, I'm happy for it now. I'm really happy for it. And I really, I just hope it, yeah, filters into all aspects of our lives as women. Like, men don't care about that shit. We don't have to care about it, right? Like, that's kind of my mantra is like, they don't care about it. Cool. We're gonna wear flats to the meeting. We're gonna wear tennis shoes, to networking events. Like,
that's
that's
what
who we
they
are.
do. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like they show up in golf polos. Like,
Right. Which is like the
yeah,
most boring, basic thing you could do. It's like, okay, cool. Well, we can definitely
yeah.
wear tennis shoes. Yeah. Yeah, I actually had a big conversation. This is going a totally different direction, but I had a big conversation with a board that I'm a part of a few weeks ago because they were talking about one of our speakers who was, younger than all the board members, and she had shown up in like tennis shoes and a skirt. And they were kind of like, do you think we should put in place a dress code? And I'm like, no. No, guys. Like, we should go the opposite direction. Like, wear whatever you want, show up however you want. Like, who do we want to be, you guys? Like, who do we want to be here? And so, I don't know. I guess, um, yeah, I guess entrepreneurship to me is really like, God, if we can't do it in this space, where are we gonna do it? Like, if we can't be who we truly want to be as an entrepreneur, like, shit, I could go back to corporate, I could sell my soul. And not that everyone who's in corporates is selling their soul, but it was for me. It felt like selling my soul. So,
Yeah. Oh, I feel the same exact way. I talk about that on this show and I say like I created my own jail cell like when I became an entrepreneur because that was what I knew. And
mm,
then I healed a lot of those wounds, right? Or healing because it's always a process.
right, right,
And now I'm like, like you said, if I can't do it here, then what's the point of doing this at all?
right.
And I just find being myself almost always attracts the best types of clients.
Mm,
I was
yeah.
doing a solo episode on this. I actually shared my mom was very ill over the past few months in the summer. It was horribly scary, like emergency surgery, horrifying. And I shared that on a podcast I was on for someone else. And right after I got off, I kind of like shamed myself, like, oh my gosh, did I overshare? Was that an appropriate place? It was like a marketing podcast. And I ended up landing my biggest client. And he had also lost his parents. And that's why he created the product that he designs. It's a tea company. We do
Mm,
meditation, journaling, and it ended up being like this amazing simpatico between us. We just really get each other. He's one of my favorite people that I've ever worked with because we just understand each other, and if I wouldn't have shared that, he probably wouldn't have hired me, ironic.
right. Because he felt like he knew you through that, right? Like, I understand this person. Yeah. Yeah. It's like an instant know, like, and trust with that. Yeah. Oh, that's such good advice that we can just keep rehearing, right? Like us being ourselves is what really attracts people. And hmm
Leads
yeah,
us back, right? Like to that path that you were mentioning with intuition and like shamanism. And like to me, it's like if I can't talk about that kind of thing with people, then we probably wouldn't vibe anyway because I'm just such a deep person, I came out of the womb like that. I've just always been like that. So if we can't get deep, like we probably wouldn't vibe anyway. So it's been
right,
like the best filter for me. I think the same thing with the tennis shoes. It's like, if that offends somebody, that's okay because we probably just wouldn't be great friends or like great clients
right,
together. Yeah.
right. Yeah. 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 I'm just thinking through all the filters I put out, hopefully.
I feel like you do great filters. Like inside
Oh,
your networking group, it's so fun because you attract these women that are coming from a higher space, like
yeah.
higher consciousness. And I've really enjoyed that group.
Oh, good.
To
I'm
know
so
the ladies
glad.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been enjoying it too, which has been fun. Yeah. It's yeah, it's been interesting, because um it started off very like small and intimate, and everyone could introduce themselves in like a smaller group, right? And it's grown, which I love. But then it kind of changes the intimacy, and so I'm always kind of playing with that. Um, yeah. So it, like you said, it's I think there's so many different layers or flavors, I guess, of spirituality.
Yeah.
And I'm always continually trying to refine what I mean by that, in the language of the group and in the language of who I'm attracting. Because it is really, to me, it's a very grounded spirituality, right? Like kind of like the work that you do, it's like, yes. I mean, the phrase I always use is like, yeah, you can talk to angels, but are you an asshole in your real life? Like we have to have for me, for my practice, for my work, it has to have something that allows you to be kinder and more loving and more community focused in your real life versus just, yeah, I can do this cool intuitive stuff over here on a weekend and then I come back home and I don't have a great relationship with my spouse or my children or my dog, whatever. Like there has to be, for me, again, and the way I think of spirituality, like we are here in the 3D, like we are here on this planet, and all the rest of it is really cool. And obviously it's what I do, but like there has to be a purpose in the human world behind all of it. So like figuring out the words to phrase that and to name it, I've always struggled with, really. So
Yeah. No, that makes so much sense because for each person, it's so individualized. And until I like got into this online space of spirituality and business, I didn't know there were people like my mom actually was the first person that took me to Silva. Like if there's any like old Silva people.
oh yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yes.
Like
Yes.
way back in the day, like one of
Okay.
the first, like spiritual meetings in
Power of
person
thought
that
comes.
they had.
Yeah. Yes,
And
yes.
it was amazing, like power of positive
Yes.
thinking. And,
Yes.
it was awesome. And then she told me about The Secret. And like that was a big part of my dad's life too. And that was what made my brain start to open up at such a young age. And then as I got older, I struggled with what you're saying. I was very like shocked that other people didn't always hold the same values that I
Mm-hmm.
had, like through my
Mm-hmm.
lens. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I was like, wait, you don't see the world like this, or you don't believe that this is like purposeful or meaningful. That's so unique. Like, how do I? And then I started to really kind of become more small, right? Because then I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, these assumptions that I'm making aren't always true. But that
Mm-hmm.
was how I was raised. So it was very different dichotomy. Like once I got into this online space, even more so, because I felt like I was opened up to this next new world. And then you have to kind of almost in a weird way protect yourself at times because the lens may not be the same, and not that there's any ill will or bad meaning towards it, but the assumption can't be there anymore,
Right.
you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I mean, especially with politics and everything that's going on in the world, like, yeah, you start to realize not everybody in the spiritual bucket thinks the same way. And that's, you know, like you said, you have to a little bit, um, yeah, protect your own energy in those spaces too. And yeah, it's been interesting. So when you did the Silva stuff, did you meet him? Did you meet Silva
So
himself?
I met her. She was like I forget her name. I
Daughter,
wish
maybe?
I think it was his daughter, maybe
I
his
think it
wife
was his
at
daughter.
the time, like somebody very close to him.
Okay.
And
I think his daughter continued it, but I can't remember exactly. Yeah.
she probably would have been the person because like I was probably 5 or 6, so I was like very young. My mom's like, I think this would be good for Caitlin. I was always like an anxious kid because I was an only child, so it just like materialized in my body. I didn't know how to communicate very well when I was little. And it totally changed my life. Like I was
Mm.
able to read at school, like I was able to be present. um
Wow.
a lot of
Wow.
us grow up with trauma. So like they had diagnosed me with a learning disability. And I always say to my mom now, I'm like, I wouldn't have had that if I wasn't traumatized. Like I just couldn't be present to learn in the
Wow.
classroom.
Wow. That's so cool. I mean, I'm just thinking through like how cool it would be to grow up with like the Silva method in your head as a 5 or 6 year old. That'd be amazing.
It was so cool. Such a blessing that my mom did
Yeah.
that. And she was like aware that it was a little bit of a risk. 'Cause she's like, I don't know who's going to be in the room, like what they're going to say. Much like
That's
what we're referencing. Yeah.
That's cool. I had looked up going to see some Silva practitioners here in Atlanta and just never really followed through with it. Yeah, I mean that's my work, too. So I love it, and I love the subconscious. It's just so like pretty much if you put the word subconscious in your marketing, I'm like, okay, I'm there.
Totally. Me too. Because it's so vast. And like
Yeah.
until you get in there and you really start to learn that part of yourself, at least with my experience, like doing this at my age, I was also like young to even be in Silva, but then like young to do this experience in entrepreneurship. In my
Mm-hmm.
lifetime, I would say like but my soul was calling me towards it, which kind of makes me feel like I am more of an old soul that way. Um, but it was very weird at first when I started to uncover what my subconscious was doing. And then when I was saying this stuff to my mom, she like started to feel guilty. And I was like, maybe I'm
Oh,
not sharing it through the right lens, you know? And then you
right,
learn that awareness and you're like, okay, I could have said that a little bit differently. This isn't a blame game, you know, this is just something that I uncovered. So many
right.
layers, as you mentioned, you know, like to describing the subconscious.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've had those experiences too because, mm, yeah, I had to put my family, including my mom, in like a different Facebook group so she doesn't see all my posts. Because I talk a lot about like, childhood programs and like
Yeah,
she feels like that's on her. And I'm like, Mom, it's everybody. Like, right? We
literally.
all get childhood programs of some kind or another, and so it's not about you, but like I mean, I understand as a mom of teens, like I would also feel like, WTF, what are you guys what are you guys saying about me out on the internet,
Yeah, yeah.
You
And like
know.
our egos, like you said, so
Right.
3D, we're like, oh my gosh,
Right.
like how
Right.
dare you say that? And
Right.
we've had a
Yeah.
lot of conversations and like in my family too, people like ask me questions and I'm like, it's just helped me work through it. And like at the end of the day, like, isn't that what we're all here to do? And like
Yeah,
I say it through love, as much love as we can, and that's I think the highest frequency, so if
for
we can
sure.
do that, then
Yeah. Then we're good. Yeah. Yeah. That's so interesting that you did that as a kid. I
that's
mean,
very
God, the world would change so much, right? If we all had, yeah, I think that a lot about the school systems and um, well, all the systems really, but especially the school system because I have kids in it. And like, they have all these anti-bullying things. And I'm always like, how about we do pro-kindness instead? Like, how about we sit down and have different conversations about what it looks like to be kind to people, like I feel like it's kind of like the anti-drug message, these kids don't even know what half these things are until you start telling them about them. And then they're like, oh, I didn't know that. Right? It's like, why are you filling their heads with all this stuff? It's not doing what you think it is.
like we don't know what it is, like I had no clue what any of those things were. I remember my biggest shift for me when I was younger was my empathy. Like almost being able to read people's
Mm,
emotional expressions earlier than a lot of other children could. And I just felt so deeply, for these children that were being bullied or, going through something rough at home because I was too, right? Like we were saying, everybody's had their experience. So that was a big kicker for me. And it's helped me a lot as I've gotten older too. But yeah, that was a very big difference, when I was growing up.
yeah. Yeah. And it's part of what made you who you are. And I think why it put you into a healing space, of intuitive marketing, which is super healing.
Yes, right? Like from a completely different everybody always thinks like I'm like the person that will help them go viral because that's a part of my story. And it's the complete opposite of like we just need to connect to you and you will be successful because then you're not contingent on the outcome like you mentioned too.
Hmm. Yeah, that's the big manifesting secret, really, is like you can't actually care about the outcome, you know?
Yeah.
Did you read any, oh, now I'm blanking on his name. Oh, it'll come back to me. I can picture his books in my head and I can't think of his name. I'll think of it. This
Yeah.
Russian dude, he writes kind of law of attraction stuff.
Oh,
Vladimir Zealand. Have
I've
you
never read his books. No. Would you recommend?
I would recommend with a big asterisk.
Yeah.
Recommend with a big asterisk. Maybe two asterisks. One is I feel like, as with any sort of, and it's funny because he talks about this in his books, and I'm about to share one of those concepts with you, but um, I think with any sort of cult, I'll use that word really lightly, but like with any sort of cult following kind of thing happening, you get some weird stuff that happens, right? Like weird lawsuits were happening and like people were being kicked out of the Facebook group. I wasn't ever a part of any of it, so I only know this kind of like secondhand from other people. But um, so the one caveat is I am speaking nothing to any online groups that may be a part of his work. I would enter with full caution on those. Um, and then I would also say my second caveat is that I would say he's on kind of the darker side of law of attraction, the darker side of manifestation, in the sense of like almost a almost a almost sort of a nihilism kind of facet of it, meaning like essentially all of this is meaningless, so you go create your own meaning. And if you want to have these things in your life, you know, success or books or whatever you want to do in your life, right? Here's how you do it. You know, here's how you play with the energies of the universe. And it's fairly law of attraction but just like with this weird, I mean, he's Russian, so I don't know if it's a Russian like cultural spin. I don't know. Or just him. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where it lands, but it is definitely like a darker law of attraction, like a I'm going to sit you down and tell you some things and you might not like them kind of law of attraction, if that makes sense. It's like fascinating, but again, I want to give those big caveats. Like, this is not Erin's book recommendations. This is just like, if you want to go explore some weird shit today, here you go.
Yeah.
Um, but one of the things he talks about is this concept of pendulums. And
Ooh,
he
cool.
uses it in reference to not like, you know, body testing pendulums, but like energetic pendulums. And he uses it in reference to any sort of organization. So, like, the Catholic Church. I'm going to use that as my example because I grew up Catholic. So this was my example when I was reading what he was talking about. But essentially any organization, any company you work for, any, you know, board you're on, anything, right? Any
Yeah,
organization has its own energy.
cool.
And again, with the Catholic Church, if you think about like the Catholic Church as sort of a pendulum. And the people that are anti-Catholic Church, which I sometimes put myself into, right? We're causing the pendulum to swing one way, right?
Okay, yeah.
And then the Catholic Church is fighting against that, right? Like, hey, we're awesome. And they're amongst the other things they're doing, right? And they're causing it to swing the other way. And his whole concept is like, look, the pendulum doesn't care about you personally. The pendulum only cares about the pendulum, like causing it to swing from one side to the other, right? And so the more energy you invest in being against the thing, you know, pulling it one direction, and the more energy they're investing against pulling it the other direction, right? Because they're always going to try to be the Catholic Church, right? They're always going to try to fight for the Catholic Church. They're going to be pulling the other direction, and the pendulum's just going to keep swinging harder and harder. So if you don't want to be a part of that, you remove your energy completely. And I had heard this concept before in terms of energy, like, you know, fighting against the thing is never going to make the thing go away. You know, coming back to our anti-bullying thing, but like if you remove your energy from it completely, it has less to swing against, right? Like if the Catholic Church just gets to go be the random ass Catholic Church that they are, and like no one's pushing back against them, right? Then eventually, hopefully, they'd kind of just drift away, right? There's no energy put in it. So anyway, interesting energetic concept to play with, and it's one of many things in his book, but it's to me it was a really helpful concept to sort of wrap my head around in terms of like, okay, when I am railing against the thing, right? I'm just really giving it more energy, and it's not helpful energy either. Like it's not going to make the thing crumble, It's just going to like me railing against the Catholic Church isn't going to change anything, you know?
Yeah.
So
Wow. I love that concept. Very interesting because it makes sense to me. And like, I've talked a lot about like conserving energy over the years,
Mhm.
but that's such a great visual on why, you should be doing so. Cause it almost does. It's like if you talk about the tree that fell, right, in the woods, like, did it make a sound or not? Right. No one was there to hear it. So it's kind of the same concept. Like, if we just stop talking about it, maybe it would help change or have more impact or disengage, right, from
Yeah.
the situation. Not
Yeah.
saying that that would apply to every single institution
Right.
out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is where to me it takes kind of a dark turn, because then it's like, okay, so then do you and, and then of course I have my own counter argument to that, which is like, okay, but what if I took my on the frequency of love, like you said, what if I took the frequency of love and applied that towards something that I do want to change, that I do want to be good in the world, whatever that means, right? Maybe it's empowering women, that's I think a part of both of our work. Like if I just put more energy into that, then that naturally counteracts the thing I don't like, which is, a disempowerment of women through the Catholic Church or other systems like that.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's a better, it even feels better just saying it. Like that's a better use of my energy, right? Um, or
And getting
anybody's.
stuck in that cycle too. It's very similar to the experience that I was describing with my mom. Like when she was so ill in the hospital, I had to make a decision. What words did I want to listen to? And one of the things that when she got out of surgery, like they told us she had a 10% chance. And I remember saying to my stepdad, he like almost
Right,
fell
kid.
over. No worries. He like almost fell over, the poor thing, and I said, but we still have a chance. Like it still
Yeah.
is, there still is a chance, and that's what we have to focus on. So I went all in on just listening to the positive. Wasn't that I didn't listen to the negative, but I focused on the positive. I focused on the love frequency, and
Hmm.
it really helped. Like it helped
God.
her. Now she's driving, she's
Oh, that's
walking, she's like a new
amazing.
woman. She's like changed her life. Like she's come back. We just got back from Atlantic City. She won all this money. She's like so abundant with her time, energy, right? So it's like we really do have the power to change things when we can harness the energy from that place. And it may be intuitively different for other people, but that was what I knew would save
Yeah.
her. So
Yeah.
that I did it because at one point I'm like, I'm just gonna experiment with it,
I
and see
think,
what happens.
and that's, yeah, coming full circle, like that is the trick of manifestation is like, I'm going to hold the vision of what I want, which is in your case, like mom's health, right? I see her as healthy. I'm not listening to people who don't see her as healthy, AKA the doctors, right? Like I'm seeing her as healthy and healed, and I'm going to hold to that. And I'm not going to worry about the outcome. Like I can't be focused on, is this coming true right now? Is this, what are her, what's her blood count or whatever?
Yeah,
Like I'm just going to hold this vision. And yeah,
and it worked.
it
So for
did. That's
out there.
amazing. That's so amazing.
And I
Yeah.
hold so much empathy for people that have done that. And like my dad did pass away when I was 15. So like I know what loss of a parent is like, and that was why the power of the secret and like bringing it back to Silva too, like that's what they instilled in me. And I felt like this was a gift, that I would use in my late 20s to change things around, and it worked for now. And like you said, it's all about like just trying it out and seeing how it goes because everybody has a different lens and perspective. And for anybody listening, if you feel touched by any of these stories, like reach out to us, connect with us. I'm happy to share more. Because it really did. It totally changed my life, changed how I think about everything.
Yeah. And it changed your mom's life too.
She'll say that. Yeah. It's so
Yeah.
sweet. Sometimes she'll write that on my Instagram captions. She's like, amazing. Now that she's back on Instagram. But Erin, this has been such an
So
amazing and
awesome.
abundant conversation. Thank you
Mm.
so much. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us? That pendulum concept, I'm definitely going to think about for a really long time. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, no, I think I'm good. I mean, come join us at networking. I hope
Yeah,
if
yay.
you're a spiritual entrepreneur, come join us. It's free so far for now. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's worth the payment too. When Erin does roll down a paid program, let me tell you guys,
Yeah.
I met some of the coolest ladies in there,
Oh,
and
I'm so glad.
everybody's so nice, and
Yeah.
they're so welcoming. And that's what is really nice, because not all networking can be like that, not knocking other groups, but it's very much so a light place to just get to know other ladies in our similar positions. And we
Mhm.
know how lonely entrepreneurship is. So come hang out with us. We'll have the link in the show notes below. And then, Erin, how can everyone connect with you as well? Is networking the best place to do that?
Yeah, for sure. And also, I also have a intro session, a quantum leap session with me. That's a 90 minutes healing and hypnosis session. Yeah, for anywhere you want to quantum leap in your life, if you want to write a book or launch a new income stream. Yeah, I'd love to invite you in there. It's just 197. So yeah, come for a session.
Love it. Awesome. And like I said, we'll have everything in the show notes below. If any of our listeners are multitasking, DM me. I will personally send you the link and connect you with Erin.
That is awesome of
we,
you.
we love our listeners here. So thank you so much again. And hopefully
Thank
we'll have
you.
you back soon. This was
I
such a
would love that, Caitlin. I would love that.
thanks.